What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Iron Obsession podcast. Today, I am joined by Brad Ferrugia No Limit, Silverback Bobby, and new special guest, Cashman Kinda Fit. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Great. Very excited to have you on. For those who don't know, Chris coaches Bobby, so we can get an inside look into Bobby's programming here. So this will be very interesting. But first, I just want to get a little background into you, what got you into bodybuilding, how long you've been doing it for, and then more so after yourself as a competitor, like what got you into the coaching side of things.
Yeah. So I've always been interested in working out. Worked out since I was 16. I was just obsessed, but it was mostly like strength. I was just mostly going for strength, like powerlifting style. Had no idea what I was doing, no idea about diet. It just was like training. So I would work out in my basement essentially with my parents with just like the old shitty standard weights.
Yep.
And then I'd have 2 weight training classes too. So I was training 3 times a day. Had no idea what just weights, just horrible training, but it was fun and I loved it. So did that. Graduated high school, kept training like an idiot, but I loved it. Got pretty strong, but I had nothing to show for it. I was just string bean. I was pretty lean, but I was never shredded. I was probably like 12 to 15% body fat. And I didn't look like I lifted. I remember specifically at a college party, a guy asked me, like, do you work out? And I was like, yeah. Well, and I had my freaking shirt off. And I was like, yeah, all the time.
Oh,
and this friend's like, see, I told you he worked out. Like, they had a bet load and I fucking worked out.
That's crazy.
And I was like, what's that years? I was like, God damn it. All right, this isn't working. So it wasn't until I was graduating, like the year I was going to graduate college, that I started bodybuilding. And that's because I lived with my parents all the way up until I graduated college. And I would just eat whatever they made. I really didn't care. Like I had a crazy appetite. Never got fat from it, but just ate like shit. And then finally I moved out of there and I was like, well, I'm cooking all my own food, so I might as well like do it right. So that was when I started my first diet there. And within like 8 weeks, I got just diced, like
nice.
Kind of on accident, but got really, really lean there. And then that's when I like really fell in love with bodybuilding. I was like, holy shit, like I can control the way I look just from changing my food. I just became obsessed with diet. And then, people started asking me in the gym, like, what the hell are you doing? Because it was pretty dramatic, the way that my body responded to it. And it was just like the most basic diet ever, just tracking macros for once. And then had to, just start helping out people in the gym that way. And that was that. I was 25 then. And I also got on TRT at that age. My test, got it tested, it was like 357 or something like that. So I started TRT at that time as well. And then that, helped a little bit. I got a little bit bigger then. I was around between 210 and 220 and pretty lean. And then I just like slowly started building up coaching from there, just helping out people in the gym. And then I just decided to finally compete because I was doing everything. I was like, might as well just try and hop on stage. I'm already getting lean, doing everything other than hopping on stage. So I did my first diet by myself, the first prep by myself, and just way fucking overdid it. At 8 weeks out, I was ready, and I was like, just buried myself, no carbs for the last 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And I dropped like an extra 20 pounds in 8 weeks and came in like a skeleton, man. That just like 2 hours of cardio, no carbs, working labor.
Oh, damn. So you probably get 20,000 steps a day or something. You probably weren't tracking them back then, but
I was tracking them, dude. Okay. I'm so OCD, man.
Hell yeah. That's you're speaking my language.
Yeah, I was getting between 20 and 30,000 steps a day.
Hey, 30,000.
Well, because I was doing backcountry trail work, so I would haul in all my gear for the day with a saw, food, water, and then you'd be out. I wouldn't be back to my truck until the end of the day, so you have to haul it in, on trails. So yeah, hiking all day with 50 pounds, 60 pounds of gear. Just way over it. But I learned a lot from that. Now dieting's easy as shit because I swear, like over dieting like that resets your set point. Like I lost so much muscle.
Oh yeah.
but I can't get fat now. Like my glutes stay in year round because of that.
Yeah. And actually,
That
so
helps a ton.
now that I'm getting a bit more tech savvy with this whole thing, I do want to actually go to your Instagram and just show the people what you look like. Because when you say that you don't get
Ooh.
fat, you're not fucking kidding, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I bet that diet set you up for some of the best progress to date. If I were to guess.
So this is pretty recent, right? This is February.
Oh shit! I cannot see.
Oh, you can't.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
You guys see it?
Yeah, it's up there.
Yep.
Yep.
I just clicked something else. You're about to see something else pop up on the screen, some Razor app. But so this is
there we go.
This is 270. How tall are you, by the way? I'd say like I'm guessing 5'10", 5'11".
Exactly 6 foot.
Okay.
Exactly 6 foot. Yeah.
So 270. I mean, lean as hell. Like completely striated fucking glutes. Insane. Like what do you at your last stage weight? What did you compete at?
So for the first show, I was 241 the morning of the show.
Okay.
And I came in I wanted to come in flat for that. And then I just wanted to be as detailed as possible. And then I came in a little bit fuller about a month and a half later and fed up all the way to that show. And I was 248.
Okay. Yeah, because you really don't look that far off of striking distance here. That's crazy, crazy conditioning for off season. Better than what most people step on stage at, honestly.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But then that did set up the rebound right there for sure.
I was gonna say, like, what was that rebound like?
So, literally the week after that show, I signed up with Justin Harris.
Ah, okay.
So, because I was like, all right, I got to get this because I was my own worst enemy. Like, I didn't want to gain any fat after that. Like, I knew I needed to eat, but I just wanted somebody to say it was okay. Essentially, I was just so in my head about it, and so he just put me on a shitload of carb cycling right away, and I didn't blow up because I wasn't. I think I got up to like 230, 240, something like that, in the rebound out, but I was still pretty lean. And then I didn't know I never thought I'd outgrow classic. I thought I was always going to stay in classic. So we didn't really push up super high. And so then I prepped with Justin for 2 years, did a couple classic shows there. And I got second place both times with him, but just again, way over dieted for those shows. Because to make that classic cap the first year, I was with him. I was at 204. My cap's 217. That I shouldn't have. The protocols just didn't work with me. And then the following year we came in, I was in shape at 230, like, healed glutes, everything like that. I had to make the cap at 217. And I made the cap and came in at 214 and just felt and looked like shit. So got second again there.
A lot of people seem to be doing that. Like, they're 15, 20 pounds above their classic cap and they just suffer to get below it. What was that like?
Dude, that really fucking sucked. Because, like, my weight we just lower food. Weight wasn't changing. That was actually the prep where I had GH for the first time. And so for 8 weeks straight, we would drop food, increase cardio, and the look like I'd lose fat, but my weight wasn't changing. And then we just ended up having to pull protein down to it was under a gram per pound of body weight for me to weight.
Because you're just literally you're trying to lose muscle at that point.
Yeah, literally. And I remember training. I went to do, what was it? Dumbbell bench or incline dumbbell bench. And I was doing the 150s before at the beginning of prep for sets of 10. And I was doing the hundreds for sets of 5.
Yep. I had a similar experience. You might have heard me talk about it. I went from inclining 315 for 12 to 15 down to less than a plate my last prep. It's fucking terrible. Shit. It's fucking terrible.
And that, it just gets rid of why we do this in the first place. We started bodybuilding because we love to train, right? So I was after that, I just wanted to start doing my own thing. I saw Justin and I left on good terms. He's a great guy, but that coaching style didn't work with me, and ended up having a kind of a rough year away from him. I had 2 hernia surgeries, and then I fractured my hand being a dumbass, and had to take some time off of work from that. I've worked for the county for 10 years and I had a good job there, but I was on unpaid leave. And so I was like, well, I've been coaching this whole time. I might as well just like take the leap and just go for it full time. So that's when I just started. This was March of 2025 is when I started coaching full time, and then prepped myself that year as well for the 2 shows, and won super heavy for both those shows and the overall as well. So,
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was really freaking happy with that. The prep was so damn easy because I was so fresh after all those surgeries. I was on like cruising for almost the entire year.
Yeah.
So then that set up a really good prep to where my weight, started prep at 248 and ended at 248. So that was pretty
That's
cool.
Awesome. That's one of those magical preps that you hear about. So with that too, your prep there towards the end, what was that like after having all that time off?
Dude, I was so ready. Like,
was it kind of almost like one of those Kevin Levrone things where you just fucking exploded into it?
That's what it felt like. I was getting stronger all the way up into the day of the show. It was a mind fuck because like actually Joe messaged me at 4 because I was like, all right, I'm going to dig a little bit more. I was like 4 weeks out, and Joe, because Joe and I have been friendly he's an awesome guy. We've been talking for years, and he's like, dude, remember, this is a muscle contest. Don't fucking do it again. So he did just save me from myself. I probably would have pulled down way too far. So yeah, it was a huge learning experience. I didn't pull water. I didn't do shit for that. I just walked right into the show both times and felt great. So it was a blast.
Nice. And it's kind of interesting how, unfortunately you had to have something really bad happen to you with your hand getting fucked up, but I'm sure you probably wouldn't change it looking back at it because it really made you take that leap to go into coaching that you may or may not have taken that leap without that big thing causing you to have to do that. It's funny how life works like that sometimes.
Absolutely. Like I completely agree. Like it did suck at the time, but it was a good learning lesson. And I had a cush job. I didn't have to do. I worked for the government, right? Like it didn't matter if I worked 1 hour a day or if I worked all 10 hours. Like I get paid the same. I wasn't gonna get fired. Great retirement. So I probably wouldn't have ever taken the league. Honestly, I was trying to juggle both, and I wasn't doing both very well at the same time. So it was kind of necessary.
All right. Well, I think we, unless there's anything else you want to add there, I think we kind of just, got the people introduced to you. Is there anything that either of you guys want to ask real quick before we get into our first topic? All right. So a couple topics that we kind of discussed going over before this. And actually, the first thing that I want to do is you actually left a question in the Discord servers. Like, I think it was around what are some of the best attributes in a bodybuilder? Was that what the question was?
Yeah.
I think that might be good to gloss over first because there probably can be a lot of value for people there. Going off the top of my head, I think one of the best attributes of a bodybuilder is just stubbornness. Just the willing to try over and over again and not give up, because I'm sure you've had several points throughout, that you mentioned in your story there where bad shit happened. I'm sure you had several days in prep where you were trying, having to diet off probably 20 pounds of muscle. You're like, fuck this. I'm going to stop. But because we're stubborn and I guess relentless would maybe be a better word for it, you just kept going.
For sure.
When things get tough, you just have to keep pushing through. I think that can always be valuable in life in general, but in bodybuilding as well.
Oh, what comes to mind for me is there's actually like two completely opposite sides of the spectrum. On one side of it, there's like the carefree bodybuilder, stress-free, and at the other end, there's the neurotic bodybuilder that needs to nail every single variable. And both ends of that spectrum can yield some really good bodybuilders. I think it kind of comes down to the genetics, but if you're a genetically gifted bodybuilder, if you just live that stress-free lifestyle, don't really worry about the small details that really don't matter, you're going to be a lot more successful than if you're stressing out about the little things. But on the other end, if you're not so gifted, you might need to be neurotic and get those extra 1%, So that's what comes to mind for me. And then in between, I don't think there's really anything in between that. You gotta be on one side of that spectrum.
Definitely agree.
Yeah, same.
What would jump out to you there as a good attribute? Either Chris or Bobby. Yep.
I'll go ahead, Bobby.
Oh, I mean, man, Brad really stole mine, like both of them.
Well, you came to mind when I said the stress-free thing, because I know you mention that all the time. But I think I think on the other end, some guys do need to be a little neurotic, and if they do let their foot off the gas a little too much, it's not going to be favorable for them. But yeah, you definitely came to mind when I said that.
So, I guess I'll piggyback off of that.
Okay.
Now, when I said like the best bodybuilders are like the ones who have the least amount of stress, because the cortisol, the fucking son of a bitch. Like I'll see my weight jump, 2 or 3 pounds overnight.
Yeah.
Just from fucking stress, and it can become a watery mess. This is in my off season. So I'm learning to be more stress free now. And I think that's like the most important thing. But I lean on Chris a lot, honestly. And it's like, if you could, maybe one of the best attributes is to be able to convey to the important people and the people that will listen, like being able to open up.
To give proper feedback as well, definitely.
That's proper feedback, but I mean, just be able to like open up to the people that are close to you. Like Chris, I look at as a big brother. Not like, I'm not saying to like, we have a very different relationship than a coach and client generally would. I wouldn't suggest every client like open up to their coach like that. But basically just being able to open up your personality, open up, what's going on, just so you can get that stress out.
Yeah.
So, but I do believe being neurotic to a point is, that's going to yield tremendous results. I want to say, like, I mean, I'm super neurotic. I weigh, like, you guys see in the Discord, I weigh my salt to the 0.5 gram, like to 0.1 gram. My water is all measured out.
Yep.
But here's the thing. If, like, I mean, I spilled my intro one day, like, it dropped and, like, fucking fell on the ground. Guess what? Stressing about it isn't going to do a damn thing.
Can't change it.
So you just fucking roll with the punches sometimes, and it's like, be as on point as you can. But if shit's going to happen, and when shit happens, you've got to be like, all right, well, it is what it is. Let's fucking keep on trucking.
Yeah, control your controllables.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think with that, the stress-free or the neuroticism and the stress-free thing, I think often something I notice with a lot of people, like something I've noticed in myself, I started off very, very neurotic to a point where it was not helpful. And then as I've gotten older, I've started to relax a bit. So I can still have a lot of those traits that were useful to me back when I was much more neurotic about things, but I don't stress out about it as much. It's like I'm neurotic in the background now. Like I don't even have to think about it anymore. It's very programmed into me at this point. But like you said, if something does happen, like if I spill a meal on the floor, if I'm prepped, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm probably gonna eat a little bit of it. But if I'm in the off season, it is what it is. I'm just gonna finish the meal as it is and move on with my day, not let it worry me.
Yeah, I think you got to kind of build a foundation of habits, and then as you become more advanced in the process, you can get a feel of like, okay, what can I get away with, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I think it is important for people that are new into the process to, be as neurotic as you can. Like you might hurt some people's feelings, you might get judged, but I think it's important. Like if you want to be the most successful you can, you got to build those habits.
Absolutely.
I agree. I mean, I guess one more. I mean, this kind of ties them all in, but just being organized feels really important.
Big time.
That just being able to like organize your week, plan everything out, write everything down, has helped a ton. Because if you're not planning out your week and know exactly what you're eating before the day even starts, you're not going to do well. So That's a big pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
For clients is like, what do you mean you don't know what you're eating
Oh
tomorrow?
my
You know,
God.
like,
Yeah.
what do you mean you
especially
ran
for
out
the
of food?
people, especially for the people that their life doesn't 100% revolve around bodybuilding, like
Yeah.
which is the majority of people. They have other things going on, so it makes it extra important to plan ahead, and so you don't miss those variables.
For sure.
What's the saying? I don't know off the top of my head, but it's X amount of preparation equals to, it's something like that. But basically, preparation can solve most of your needs throughout the week. You're not going to run into a problem if you're already prepared for it before it even happens. So.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be scared. Be prepared.
Yeah, that's one too. There's a lot of good sayings about it. I've always that is an area that I'm still pretty neurotic about. I try to be a bit more free flowing with it now, but I used to have to always have a plan for every second of every day. Like if we're going to dinner, I need to know when. Because I want to kind of plan out my meals for the day. I want to space them out a decent amount. I don't want to have to eat an hour and then boom, go to the restaurant or whatever. Back in probably this is 2023 where I was doing that more frequently. I think we covered everything there. Moving on, kind of more into free flowing conversation here. I wanted to cover the topic of pushing off seasons. How far can you push someone? When do you know it's time to pull back? Just our general approaches. I think we'll have slightly different opinions on this, but I think it'll be a very interesting and productive conversation for people and us as individuals.
Sure.
So I think Brad can probably convey my side of the coin better than I even can. So I'm just going to hand it off to you, Brad, to kind of and if I disagree.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to unpack. So I think from the standpoint of myself and Anson, we are guys that if we want to be successful in bodybuilding, we have a lot more muscle we need to put on, and if we want to do that in the most time effective fashion, we're probably someone that's going to have to push the off season a little more aggressively than, let's say, someone who is more shapely per se, maybe doesn't need to lean on muscularity quite as much, where they can approach the off season with a little more modest approach, stay leaner. But so let's take my situation, for example. I competed at the midway point of light heavyweight last year. I'm 5'10". I don't have great shape. I'm way too tall to be a light heavyweight. I'm going to get smoked by guys that fill out that weight class at 5'5". So if I want to be competitive in a lineup, I'm going to eventually have to be a super heavyweight. Sure, I could take a slow approach, but I'm pushing 30 years old now. So I'm trying to speed run this shit and get to super heavyweight as quick as possible. So I'm going to push the off season pretty aggressively. If that means getting soft, I'm okay with that. I haven't ever had an issue getting in shape. I think that's definitely a variable that comes into play. Like if you have a history of not being able to come in condition, even if you're checking all the boxes, maybe it's just not in the cards for you to push an aggressive off season and get on the softer side. And obviously that's subjective, right? Like I feel like the bodybuilding standard in this era for off-season conditions a lot different than it would have been a decade ago, 2 decades ago.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
just to paint a picture, I'm more than comfortable with getting into early 2000s off-season condition by the end of the push. I think I'll be just fine with a 20-week prep if I'm that soft. So that's my perspective on it. I think I covered it all.
Yeah.
In terms of
just before you move on, I just want to go over some bullet points for myself there as well. I agree with basically everything you're saying there. This past off season is the first time that I've not gotten that 2000 sloppy fat personally, and I do think that all that you said there is true. I do think it should still be a goal that as we get more muscle to have a bit leaner of an off season, because the more muscle you have, the leaner you're going to stay. Like Cash was talking about with the set points and all. But especially in the beginning for someone like myself, like when I started out, I was 115 pounds. I had to put on some body fat. There was no way that I wasn't going to be able to, stay around the same weight. I had to eat a lot, especially, back then being natural too. I definitely had to push that. And then come to find out I had low testosterone, so it's double whammy there. But for me, nothing really comes easy in this sport, so to say. It's gotten a bit easier with age, but it's like I can't give it a 6 or 7 out of 10. I have to give everything an 11 out of 10. I have to overdo it, overstep a bit, and then correct on the back end to a bit. Like Brad was talking there with a 20-week prep. Me personally, I'm probably someone who's always going to need a 20-week prep to a degree, regardless of how lean I stay. Now, if I was as lean as Chris, different story. I could probably get away with a 10-week shit, maybe a 4-week prep. That's how lean you are. But but yeah, I think I agree pretty much on all points with Brad there. The goal is not to get fat, but if it happens, is how I see it.
I mean, to be honest, I don't disagree with like
Yep.
most of that. Like I have the same train of thought there. Like obviously when somebody's newer and has less muscle, like they're going to be in a surplus. They're going to tend to get a little chunkier. And they're even at the same body fat percentage when you're younger, when you have less muscle, you look fatter than you are just because you have no muscle pushing through. So, when somebody is like more, I guess like more of a beginner, I will let them get a little bit softer. It's not like probably get like 15% or so. Like if I just had a guy get to 16%, we got his decks and everything after it. But obviously, and then as they get more advanced and everything like that, just it's a lot easier to stay lean as well. Like now, I mean, it would be really hard for me to get fat now, whereas before I could, I'd get a little bit softer in the off season. The first few, especially with Justin Harris, I probably got up to, probably close to 15% body fat the first couple times, and then each year you just get a little bit leaner. So I mean, to be honest, I don't disagree with anything you guys have to say.
Okay.
I do like to stay leaner now.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a lot easier now that I have 250 pounds, pretty lean.
Yeah. So that being said, like I'm in the same boat. Like even when I'm fat, like I'm still relatively lean. I think kind of my standpoint is that I guess how aggressive do you push the surplus?
Okay. Yeah.
Generally speaking, it's like the guideline is you want to push about a pound. If you're in a solidified off season, about a pound a week is a pretty good rate of gain. I think in my situation, I'm more than comfortable with putting on 2, maybe even 3 pounds a week. Just like the fear of missing out. Like if I limited myself to that 1 pound a week, am I leaving anything on the table? I guess that's kind of my outlook on that.
And then another thing too, so just not interrupt, but for someone like me, it's not really possible for me to gain only a pound a week. My weight, I fluctuate a lot. I could gain 3 pounds in a week. I could lose 4 pounds in a week. Variables could be the exact same. I guess maybe it's my water retention or something. I fluctuate a good deal. And of course, towards the end of my off season, I had some bad sleep, which I'm sure we'll kind of get into that as we get more on the back end of the topic. But that made it even worse, my weight fluctuations. Sometimes with me, you just have to push me up 500, 600, 1,000 calories when you make a food adjustment to me. And that's the only way you're going to get my weight to really consistently go up and not have these days where I'm going up, down, up, down, up, down.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely where I vary on how I like to do the off seasons. Like I try and like almost like sneak food in. So like like I'll add like 50 grams of carbs, 75 grams of carbs, and I will let weights stagnate for a while and let it harden and just get more comfortable with that weight for, sometimes 1 week, sometimes it'll be a month. I won't even bump the food up. I'll just let them get a little bit harder, get a little more comfortable, and then I'll bump it up another 50, 75 grams of carbs. And sometimes that won't even move their weight, that bump in food, but training performance will start to go up. They'll feel a little bit better. They'll look fuller. So yeah, I like to see obviously over like month to month, I like to see it trending up, but I'm not necessarily always, if I don't see the scale move, I'm not like, oh shit, we need to increase it. Especially if other metrics like training, and everything like that is improving. So
for sure, I think generally I would only really want to push the food up if the weight either stayed the same or went down for between 2 to 3 weeks in a row. Me personally,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
just
and
use
I guess it depends on how long the off season is going to be as well.
that
Like
too.
how much time do you have?
That was
I
another
was going to
thing
be
that I
my
was
next
going to.
question.
Yeah, I was right there
Does
with you, man.
does it make a difference if this person is attached to some sort of a timeline where it's like, okay, we only have 12 weeks of off season, 12 more weeks of off season to push before we got to get into a prep? Because I think, like, I would definitely agree. If there's no show in mind, you basically have as much time as you need to grow. I think it's definitely, it wouldn't be wise to push aggressively in that situation.
Mhm.
Yeah, like if you have someone with a 30-week planned off season versus a 15, that's going to differ quite greatly. I would probably fall into the camp more so of what you're talking about. Look at that monthly average, and I would really only want to see about a pound a week at that point, because even if you're right on that pound, that's 30 pounds right there, and that's a good amount of weight the person will be going up.
Yeah.
So
And with, sorry, before, I just want to add one more thing. And with that long off season too, not pushing aggressively might actually extend it as well,
Exactly.
because the more body fat you're going to put on, the quicker insulin sensitivity is going to go. Just overall training performance, like this, all of us probably been in that situation. You start getting soft, training performance is going down, but the scale weight's going up.
Yep.
So that's never a good situation. At least with the slower rate of gain, you're not going to run into that as quick. So in the long run, it might actually extend that push.
Mhm.
So a big variable, not a big variable, but I mean, I generally only look at the scale as like one metric.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, if it's consistently going down, obviously I'll make a food pump. But I mean, if it stays the same, or if it slightly goes up, and like, because there's been times where I'll message Chris and be like, oh fuck, like I gained like 3 pounds, and be like, well, nothing's changed the diet, so dude, it's water. A lot of the scale weight is literally just water, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
water, inflammation. It's kind of like when we take these exogenous hormones too, we can throw out a fuck ton of water, and then guess what? It levels out, or it can drop down. It's just all the way dependent. I really like to go with a metric of, how's your gym performance doing? How's sleep doing? Like, how's your appetite doing? Um, like I said, the scale is like one metric, but I want to see the picture as a whole. I want to see what your blood pressure is doing. I want to see what your fasted glucose, your postprandial or glucose. I want to see all those metrics and see how it's moving as a whole. I'd be more concerned if I saw someone's gym performance going down, and that's where I'd probably make more of a food bump in that case, or a cycle adjustment.
Yeah.
So I think just pushing the scale up just to push the scale up doesn't necessarily lead to more muscle.
Yes.
But,
yeah, I agree with that, but at the same time, we do still need to push it up for most people. So it's a fine line you have to walk of pushing it too far and then not pushing it far enough, right? Like, I think that generally, that 1 to 2 pound a week mark is probably good for most people, but we're obviously not putting on 1 to 2 pounds of muscle a week. That would be absurd.
right.
Yet it's like we can almost get into, there's a lot of people, none of us here, but you'll see people literally trying to gain exactly a quarter pound, a half a pound a week, something absurd like that. It's almost not even measurable, right? So we have to be pushing it. Yeah, we got to be pushing it up enough to where we can see a trend up or a trend down, which is generally going to be at least a pound or two, I would say.
Well, so that's the neurotic part where it's like,
yeah,
dude,
that's too much. That's way too fucking much.
If someone messages me that they gain like a quarter of a pound in a week,
yeah,
I'd be like, you know what? Maybe we're not even going to use a scale for a couple weeks. Like,
yeah,
because if you're that set on it, and of course this would be like an off-season setting. In prep setting, I definitely want to see it trending down.
Yeah,
but in an off-season setting, it's just like, let's just not focus too much on the scale weight. I want to see what the look is doing. I want to see how the gym performance is doing. Because if you're overtrained, that weight's going to go up too.
Yeah,
you're just going to be inflamed as fuck.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, if if you fluctuate, because I fluctuate like crazy. I don't fluctuate as crazy as Anson, but I will fluctuate probably somewhere in the middle between Brad and Anson.
Just to refresh people's memories, peak off season, I think my highest weight was 258.8, and that same night later, I was like 272 or 274. Like fasted versus fed before bed. That's how much I'll fluctuate. And then I think I woke up the next day, not at 258, but I think I was like 254 or something like that. It's just all over the fucking place. And like I'm on the dot with all of my shit. I'm weighing my salt exactly 1.5 grams on each meal. I'm measuring all my fluids, like you're saying. I'm drinking 2 gallons a day. Everything's very consistent, steps tracked meticulously, yet I'll still have these big fluctuations. And for me personally, I've always been that way to a degree, but I have also found that the higher we've pushed, because this is really my first off-season pushing growth hormone into bodybuilding dosages, I've found that has been a big part in why my weight fluctuates so much.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. Whenever running higher doses of growth hormone, the weight fluctuations are nuts, especially if there's any variances in like whether it's sodium or water intake or just food sources. So like I get on some guys that'll like, some people I'm working with, and he wants like they'll want to like follow macros or something like that. But if they're pushing GH, it's like, no, dude, you need to set meal plan. Otherwise, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like your weight, like there'd be like 5 to 10 pound weight fluctuations on the same calories throughout the week. It's just
they can eat the same calories and macros, but if one day is mostly potatoes and one day is mostly rice, completely fucking different look.
On scale, completely,
Yeah, that's a whole different discussion. But I've been preaching that. If it fits your macros thing, like it can work, but it's like those like the food sources still have to be super limited, right? Like your carbs have to be rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, like that. If it fits your macros, like some guys are trying to fit Pop-Tarts in there. It just like even guys that think they're serious, they're like trying to get some bullshit in there, and it's like, that's a whole different discussion though.
I've been on a meal plan for 5 years now, I want to say. It's all I know at this point. But the two can kind of coalesce into the same thing, right? Like, for example, what Bobby's doing, you're doing macros, but it's basically a meal plan. You're eating pretty much the same thing every day. Same thing with Max, what he's doing. I'm on a diet plan, but for example, Joe told me, hey, if you want to switch out like white fish with this turkey that's 99.1, it's the same fucking thing, so just do it. So that type of thing. You can make substitutions if you wanted to really get into it. But yeah, that's a whole nother topic, but a very interesting one. People will go wild with the macros.
So actually, I think, and this is what I actually like hearing, instead of, and we could end this right after this, but instead of calling it if it fits your macros, to call it swapping like for like.
Yeah.
Because if it fits your macros, literally like you said, it could be a Pop-Tart for rice and fucking, I don't know, like some olive oil, because Pop-Tarts do it with fat in there, and people think it's the same thing. But swap like for like, limit the processed foods, try to have whole foods as your main source of nutrients.
Another thing too, not to harp on the topic too long, but it's interesting. It's interesting, but people also will, let's say, they'll have the same macros one day. Let's say it's even all whole clean food, right? But one day their sugar's 75% higher because they're doing way, way more fruits, or maybe they do sneak in some sugary stuff like you're saying there. It's not just carbs, proteins, fats. It's also your sugar and your fiber that matters too.
Yeah, I was going to add that in too. Like starch, carbs, and fruits aren't the same. Like, they're both carbs, but if there's a massive swing day to day, like it's gonna make a difference for sure.
Absolutely.
That's why swap like for like.
Yep.
Food list.
Yes, food list. So, generally speaking, with an off season, what is the longest push time that you guys have seen that is productive? I personally, and I'm not saying this was productive because it was the opposite of so. I had a 2-year-long off season. It might have even been 2.5, but in between my first and my second shows. I competed November 2022, and then I competed again, and there was a 20-week prep both times. I competed again in May of 2025. So that's almost like, I think it's a 2.5 year off season. The first year, I was on fire. Everything was amazing. I was doing probably 6,000 calories a day, staying lean for the first time in my life, growing like just a wildfire. And then at about the year or the year and a half mark, my weight stayed the same, except because it was trending up that whole time. Then it started to stay the same, except what you would want to see, like with you guys, you'll stay at a similar weight and recomp positively in a recomp phase. I decomped. I went backwards. I stayed the same weight. Yeah. I decomposed. I went from 225, like lines in my legs, veins in my abs, to by the time I started prep, people can go back on my Instagram and like see my start point for that second prep. By the time I started prep, my abs were pretty much gone. My legs were completely washed over. I probably went from like 9% body fat at 225 to 15, 16, maybe a little higher over the course of that next 6 to 12 months. I just stayed because it was a continuous push for the most part. Even when I would cruise, calories would not get pulled back. So it was just a continuous surplus for about 2.5 years. And by the end of it, I pretty much fucking hated bodybuilding. I almost didn't even do that second show because it was so miserable. So that is an example of way too fucking far. Then I would compare it to this past off season that I've had, which was, I want to say, about a year. That was perfect for me. We were almost going to extend it a little bit further. This was going to be like a 24-week or 23-week off-season cycle instead of a 17, but show plans changed, so it ended up being 17. And that was perfect for me. The wheels started to fall off right when we went into cruise. So, like, in terms of like body composition and things like that. So, me personally, I don't really see a reason to just continuously push for that long. Now, that being said, I'm sure that you could definitely do it in a way more intelligent way. You can push, pull back, and have it be done intelligently. But I don't think that's what most people are going to do. I think most people, if they hear off season for 2 years, they're just fucking pushing the whole time. So how long would you guys say pushing straight up at a time is productive for? I would say like 20-week blocks at a time at most.
I would tend to agree with that. Obviously, it's the two main variables are going to be body composition, like body fat levels, and insulin sensitivity, which are obviously going to go hand in hand, and that's going to vary a bit between person to person. So I think that timeline sounds about right. I don't think it's ever smart to keep pushing food to the exact same level during a cruise. Like, just logically speaking, it's like you don't have those reinforcements of the PEDs. Like, we take them for a reason. They do make a difference. So it doesn't really make sense to keep pushing during that time. That's just that. Based on my experience, I think that's ideally if you pushed the previous push an appropriate amount, by the time you get to a cruise, it should be about the perfect time to do some sort of pullback, cleanup, whatever you want to call it. So that's my take on that. I don't think it's ever a good idea to just keep pushing flat out through all those phases.
Yeah, mini cuts are absolutely essential. I didn't even know what the fuck a mini cut was until I got with Joe.
I agree. Like 16 to, well, I'd say 16 on the short end, up to 30 weeks, I guess. I guess another variable, I mean, you already kind of mentioned it, but is what's your starting point?
Yeah.
Are you coming off over dieted and then lean as shit out of a show? Or, are you kind of at a, what most people starting off season and they're already on the higher end of body fat, to be honest. Most people don't really start super clean or like super lean. So that's going to be a big factor. And then obviously, insulin sensitivity, and then if their, blood pressure and everything like that starts to creep up, sleep apnea, just people start to end up having, issues being heavier for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah. And sleep apnea, sleep apnea aside, just sleep quality in general, you'll notice, which for me, it was mainly my sleep apnea, but just in general, with how much water I was holding towards the end of that off season, I was waking up so much to piss that it disrupted my sleep.
I was going to say something about that. Like, you
Yeah,
must get up so much.
bro, it's ridiculous. Now, thank God, I've slept better the past. I've been on cruise for 3 weeks, so like 2.5 weeks. I've slept better this past 2.5 weeks than I have for like 2 to 3 fucking years. I shit you not, because I'm unmedicated now. Meaning I'm not taking like either a trazodone or THC. I'm taking melatonin and magnesium for the most part. That's pretty much it. And I'm sleeping. I wake up maybe twice a night right now. And I'm sleeping between 8 and 10 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
So I think the next question of this topic is, when is it appropriate to quote unquote mini cut, and when is it time to really pull it back and actually get basically compete, or if you don't want to compete, when to actually get into contest shape? Like what would be the determining factors of when it's not appropriate to mini cut, basically? Like when have you pushed yourself so far that it's just time to pull it right back?
So I think,
or can you just or can you just continuously do pushes followed by mini cuts year after year?
yeah.
So I would say that's more. I mean, that works, but I think that's a slower approach.
Hmm.
So my thought process on this is, I mean, realistically, and I wouldn't even really want to call it off season, because I think off season, it really just, for most people, I think it gives them a reason to miss out on things and not be as neurotic and not be on top of their schedule. So let's just break it up into, pushes and pulls. Push phase, pull back phase, recomp, whatever. I think it's, no matter what, I think you should diet down to stage lean yearly. It gives you something to look forward to, instead of just these little, like mini cuts are really good and very, very well utilized. But I think there's so much more to be gained by just getting stage fucking healed, because your runway is going to be so much better, and that's where you're going to make most of your progress throughout the year.
I think
it also,
you're good.
It also just resets everything so much better. Like a mini cut, you could get your I want to say, if someone's like deep in a push, and let's say they're pushing 15, even 20% body fat, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think a mini cut's enough time to really get your insulin sensitivity down in the low depths, or even get your blood pressure super down. Even if your blood pressure is fine, I mean, I think there's just things that are going on inside and internally
100%.
that could just be fixed by getting super lean.
Accrual of visceral fat being one of them.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think it's also just a neurological benefit for someone as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Just to give someone, hey, we got a deadline, we got a goal, let's fucking shoot for it.
Yeah. I think for competitors, that's where mini cuts come into play a bit more. I don't really see like a lifestyle person needing to do mini cuts for the most part, because they're probably going to get a bit fatter, like towards that 15-20%, like you were talking about. Just a hard push and a hard pull on them, because they're going to push hard whether you want them to or not. They're going to have a couple cheat meals a week, shit like that. And you're going to need a good pullback to get them in shape. I really think for competitors, that's where mini cuts come into place, because ideally we wouldn't need them, right? But sometimes, just with how the schedule for the year lines up, it's either, okay, I don't want to be on cycle for 35 weeks. Let's split that up in half and have a cruise, with the mini cut in the middle of it, just to give us a little bit of more room before going into that second cycle, right? I think that's really where mini cuts can shine, is a way to kind of split up your year better.
So let's say a theoretical timeline here. This is for the average person. Obviously, there's going to be outliers, but the average person, let's say you compete, you hit a 6 to 10 week rebound, pull back for 6 to 8 weeks, go into a solidified off season push, let's say 12 to 16 weeks, depending on when. Let's say not even a show in mind. So during that 6 to 8 weeks after the rebound, you use that as a mini cut, pull back, whatever, regain insulin sensitivity, clean up a little bit, and then go into the solidified off-season push. For the average person, do you think after that's solidified off-season push, that's when they're about ready to pull it right back down? Or do you think the average person could then do another mini cut and then into another push?
I think the average person, I'd want them to do another clean out after the push. And I want everything. I want someone to monitor their blood work year round. I don't care. But I'm still going to pull someone down to TRT levels before I have them go into a prep phase. But I would have them prep right after that.
Interesting.
So, in the majority of situations, you don't think people should push for more size after that. You think that's probably where it's time to they pushed it far enough that another 6 to 8 week cleanup isn't enough time to get them in another optimal spot to grow, I guess, so to speak.
So I'm not saying full on cleanup. I'm saying let's kind of recomp a little bit. I'm not going to pull someone down super hard on that because I want that tissue to stick more. And
I guess it depends what phase they're going. It depends what they're going into next. Like obviously, if they're going to be going into a prep after that, you're going to be trying to hold the weight a little differently than if you were planning to go and do another push. Then you might pull back a little more aggressively. But do you guys understand my question? Like for most people, after that second push, like that's basically as far as you can push it, and even with another cleanup, you're probably not going to get your body in a good enough state to have another productive push, so to speak. And then at that point, it's time to go and do a prep.
Yeah, even if you're starting in a crazy lean starting point, like Chris was talking about, like you're over dieted, and unless you're just like at the point to where you are, someone who has a really large amount of muscle mass on you at this point, I don't see much more than 1 to 2 pushes being beneficial. I feel like, because, let's say each one of those are even just 16 weeks, that's what, 4 months, 8 months, 12, that's a year of just straight pushing. And then you have your cruises in between, that's another 2 months. If you're doing 8 weeks, that's just a lot of time. I think that's too much time away from the stage, and not even to get in body composition, just too much time away from the stage.
Yeah, and I do really like the point about that Bobby made about the mental side of it, because like if you're pushing a proper off season, like it's just as hard as a prep in a different, or if not harder for some people,
harder,
as a prep, just in a different way, right? Well, I'd say for a first-time competitor, that first prep is probably going to be harder than the ensuing push after. But once you've been in the game,
they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear
that yet. Yeah, but that's true. Yeah, once you got some skin in the game, the off seasons are definitely. So yeah, I think the mental aspect is a big part of it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think anything more than 1 to 2 push it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like to think about it this way. I do, in order, how do I put this the best way? Your anabolic load is going to have to keep going up if you still kind of want to make progress in those push phases. So instead of trying to bring that anabolic load up, why don't we pull your weight down and then use the food and training to drive things up? The drugs are definitely going to play a part.
Yeah.
But I would rather someone diet down instead of having to all right, let's say someone's at 1.5 grams of anabolics. They're growing on that. They're doing great. They might still do the same. They might still grow decently well. Let's say for their next push on that 1.5 grams, but we might actually have to do another cycle escalation. Okay. Instead of doing that, why don't we just pull down, reset everything, and then we could probably just diet on that 1.5 grams, and then we do the rebound, and maybe we just stick there, and you just grow. You just keep fucking growing.
So you're not wanting their off-season exposure to get so long to where their doses have to increase so much. You're resetting so frequently to where you kind of almost get to ride out that same sweet spot dose for a much longer time.
Yes. Also, I believe especially if someone wants to push the GH dose, I believe the prep time is the better time to really push that really hard. Especially, I mean, we can make this argument with the generics versus pharma, but we all know that generics are going to hold a lot more water.
Yeah.
And it could vary from kit to kit. So I think that just puts someone's health at risk as well.
It can. With
the fluctuation of the water, we just don't know. And even if bloods look good, that's only a snapshot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish we could do like an HbA1c for like work. All the blood work markers. Well, for all the markers, just so that you can see what it's doing 3 months instead of just like, because let's say you have one night of shitty sleep before blood work. That's happened to me.
I wouldn't.
And my numbers were off.
At that point, I would just reschedule it because I've had that happen. I'm never going to do it again. I'll just reschedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then you get all in your fucking heads. You get all about the blood work.
Man, that happened. That happened to me so bad. It wasn't that bad, but I was just like, that's not normal.
Yeah, going back to the stress-free bodybuilding, it's pretty hard to be stress-free when you're looking at bad blood work.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like the. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. I actually lost my train of thought before I even finished that, so you take it.
Yeah, I agree with like you could probably, because I'm kind of in that same situation now, coaching myself with like how many pushes to do before you compete again. And I agree. Like, yeah, think about 2 good, like a rebound and a solid like long push. 16 to 24 weeks is about all you'll be able to get out of it before you start. You're gonna have to either pull back really hard or, do like a contest prep. Yeah. I really like just keeping. It's obviously different depending on how big the individual is, but I didn't mention this earlier. I just really like also keeping someone really lean when they have more muscle mass, like somebody like Bobby. He has quite a bit of muscle, and that way we can really see what's going on. Like, is he adding tissue? Is this water? Like, we can just see everything that's going on when we do make any type of manipulation. Whether we add this compound in, we don't change any other variables, and then we can see what's actually happening, what his response is. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that real quick.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like, once you lose sight of what's actually going on, that's definitely too far. And in my opinion, if you're an enhanced bodybuilder, every 4 weeks you should be able to see notable changes in your physique during a push. And if you're not seeing that after a 4-week span, then that's probably another good sign that either we need to push more gear or it's probably time to pull back.
So on that is something, so basically talking about like when to push gear versus when to push food. My thought process, this may be a very amateurish way of thinking about it in terms of like a coaching perspective, but my thought process is we're going to assume the person's on a respectable, let's say they're at about 1.5 grams or 1 gram, something like that, right? So they're not on 500 milligrams, because obviously if someone has a very low anabolic load, well, obviously we can just push that up to have a little bit more progress happen. But when I think, what metric do I need to push to get this person to grow? I look at composition, and then that kind of tells me what I need to do. If composition is still amazing, like we're talking about, I'm going to opt to push food before gear. And then if composition is starting to falter a little bit, because we do see, depending on the compound, but I would say every anabolic to a degree is going to aid in nutrient partitioning and how we absorb the food we're eating, right? So if you push the gear up a little bit but don't touch the food, I find generally you're going to have a bit better partition and a better look that will follow after that. So they'll grow a bit leaner, pushing the anabolics. Growth as well, obviously. That throws a bunch of water retention into the equation as well, though. And then, so I think I explained everything I was going to say. Basically, if someone is in really good composition, I want to push food. I'm not against pushing gear in that situation, but I want to opt more for food there to get their food higher. And then if somebody's a bit more sloppier looking, but let's say it's not sloppy enough to pull back yet, that's where I'm going to say, okay, let's bump the anabolics a little bit higher if the person's risk tolerance allows it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. But at the same time, I think it's a little subjective looking at it like that.
Of course.
I think your time in what your experience in the gym actually paints a better picture of which one to push. And it depends, like, how much food is this person eating?
let's just say
So this
moderate
is my
amounts on like everything,
so
not that crazy.
this is my take, because a lot of people ask, like, am I running enough gear? Like, it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like if you're
It's fun, man.
Yeah.
if you're okay, if you're nailing all the other variables, if you have to question if you're running enough gear, you're probably not. From my experience, if I'm on cycle pushing, every single workout is better than the previous.
Yep.
I could wake up that morning, feel shit, and be like questioning, am I going to have a good training session? You're still going to go in there and you're going to nail it. You're going to be stronger. You're going to have a better pump. And if you're nailing all your variables and you're not having that response, you probably need more gear, if you ask me. Because if you're someone that's already eating, let's say, I don't know, arbitrary number, 600 grams of carbs,
Okay.
adding another 100 grams of carbs isn't gonna like level up your gym performance that much. Like, you're fueling yourself pretty well, obviously, depending on like your lifestyle. Like, if you're someone that's working like super hard physical labor and you're just burning through all that food, that's a little different. But like the average person, like if you're eating a good amount of food, like adding another 100 grams of carbs isn't going to level up your gym performance. So that's my take on it. It's just like, basically, to summarize it, if you're on cycle and you're pushing a good amount of food and you're not walking to the gym every session feeling like the fucking man and killing it, having a sick pump, you're probably not running enough gear.
But the thing is, though, I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, I will say I have had some food bumps where it did fix everything and the gear didn't really change. Like me, but it's a bit different of a situation though, because for me, my metabolism would just, and I have to eat a fuck ton of food. My metabolism would just speed up and it would start almost getting away from me, kind of almost like what you experience once you start to push food back up at the end of a prep, right? Like when you're feeding into a show, you'll just start burning through more and more. That would happen with me, and I would notice I would actually start to flatten out a little bit in the off season, as weird as that fucking sounds. So then in that case, throwing some more food at me was all I needed. I didn't need to push my anabolics any higher. Would I have been okay doing that? Yeah, I probably would have. You could have put me on an extra gram. I'm not going to fucking complain. But I didn't need it at that point. So there was no reason for us to push the dose there.
Yeah, see, I've never had that sort of experience. Like, once my food's at a fairly high amount, like where I feel like I'm sufficiently fueled, and any food that gets added on top of that is just to push the body weight up. I don't really notice a difference in gym performance.
I think you're probably a better example. You're more stable. I'm like a more very like chaotic person, which is fucked up because my variables are stable.
And now I think the reason that I have that take is because, for like most people, like your initial exposure to PEDs, like the first whatever handful of cycles, like, well, I mean, some people obviously jump right into the deep end, but like, I ran lower dose cycles and I didn't have that experience where I was like, every single time I went in the gym, like, I had an amazing pump. I felt way stronger than the last time I was in the gym. And once I got on what I would consider real bodybuilding doses, that's how it started. That's when I started to feel that. And lo and behold, that's when I started actually making good progress. So I guess that's why I have that take on that. But I don't know if you guys would agree or not, but that's my experience.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right. Well, so I'm kind of like between what Anson and Brad you had to say about that. So, like, for me personally, I'm similar to you, Anson. Like, I do respond best, honestly, to food bumps at my training performance. My metabolism can run away from me sometimes in the off season, and I'll just have like shitty training session for no feels like no reason, but it's just my metabolism take off. And I actually don't. I mean, I don't know what it is, honestly, but like, I really don't get much of a strength boost from running gear whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, I'll notice I'm a little fuller, but it's not like, unless trend is the one thing. Like, I'll be like, okay, I know Red is something.
Anadrol.
But for the most part, I can't. Anadrol makes me feel like shit. D-ball, though. I just get a headache. But, so, but for like a lot of clients, I will, if their body composition's good, just like you said, Brad, like, I will Usually aim to bump food first. And it depends, obviously, like the risk tolerance and
Yeah.
experience, everything like that. But, and then as far as, oh shit, I completely forgot my train of thought there.
As far as pushing the food,
Come back to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we really disagree on any of these things. It's just degrees of what we're willing to push. When it all, like, eventually you end up pushing your to a certain threshold, and you end up pushing your food to a certain threshold. Something that may be interesting though is how far are you willing to push up the food? Like, is there like a general amount where you're like, okay, this is just ridiculous. This isn't needed. We have to figure out a different way to get this to work. Because for me, I'm just a bottomless fucking pit when it comes to appetite. So if you throw me on 10,000 calories, I will eat them, and I will get fat, but I will eat them. So it's like, for me, appetite is not a valid point of feedback, because I'm even on Retta, everything, I'm always hungry. So gym performance does definitely become a good metric there, but I feel like if we're on a cycle, unless our metabolism is kicking up and getting away from us, performance is always going to be pretty good, right? It's just like, okay, is this a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10? So it can be hard to know from that perspective when you need to do that.
Just to save myself from sounding like a complete drug pusher here, I will.
I'll hop in a second.
I will clarify, like with myself or people that I'm coaching, like, there is, like, appetite isn't really a limiting factor. Like, you gotta be able to eat. So it's like, if it's like if we're trying to push the scale up and the weight stalls, I'm never pushing anabolics to push the scale up. Like, that's not what they're there for. The food is what moves the scale. So just to clarify that, it's like PD should never be a means of breaking through a weight plateau. That's always going to be food.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I will say one thing though about that. I kind of remember what I was going with that. If weight has stalled for a while and we have increased food previously, and food's already pretty high, I will increase the gear, and then kind of like prime the other body for that next bump in food. So I'll, bump up the gear a bit and then give it another week or two, and then I'll bump up the food there a pretty good amount, and that just so a little less likely to accumulate more body fat at that point.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. But in terms of like just the sheer volume out of food, is there a point where you've had somebody just like, we got to figure out a different, like, maybe we push insulin to just absorb what we're eating better? Like, I really don't want you eating more than 6,000, 7,000 because we're going to get distension at that caloric amount, because we know based on past experience, like that type of thing. Have you ever run into that? No,
I'm not saying, but I've worked well. One guy, but I didn't push insulin. Like I would just have him literally just sneaking in bullshit because he worked a
that's
crazy,
another way too,
crazy job. So I was like, "What's your favorite like snack when you're a kid?" And like eat that before you go to bed a couple nights a week. So it'd be like Pop-Tarts or some cereal, something like that. But that was only one guy, and it still, his weight didn't fucking budge. He was at like 7,000 calories, working wild hours.
So you'll take the food pretty damn high then. Okay,
yeah. I mean, not all the time, but this guy was like, his one goal was to get fucking. He was just a lifestyle guy, wanted to get huge, and I'm like, all right, dude, like if you want to do this, and he wasn't consistent enough with the diet. I didn't want to do the insulin thing. If he was a real bodybuilder, I'd want to implement something like that. But if you're not like super accurate for me, so I'm not going to even. Insulin's out of the question.
100%. I told a client one time, dude, you are too stupid to use this shit. I will never let you do it on my watch. Straight up. Because he had mismanaged his... Dude, I shit you fucking not. He took 2,000 milligrams the week that I told him to take 200. Not even fucking kidding.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. That's how bad it was.
Holy shit.
but I, and again, to kind of piggyback a bit off of what Brad's saying here, I'm not really afraid to push the gear if the person is advanced, and speaking for myself here, just obviously I don't really have anybody pushing hard under me. They're more beginners. I'm not afraid to push the gear if that's what it takes, but of course we want to get the most out of the least, right? Like for me, if I was running my own off season, for example, like I could not do what you're doing because, dude, I'd be on 5 grams of shit. I just know it. I would going from my, I was in my prep thinking about what I wanted to do after the show. I was like, all right, I'm gonna be on like fucking 2 grams of test. I'm gonna take a gram of EQ, a gram of MPP, and that's probably what I would have done if I was writing things out for myself, because I have very high risk tolerance. I have very good blood work year round, on gear, off gear, etc. Blood pressure, even at my highest weight ever, holding that crazy amount of water, my blood pressure, I think the highest I saw it was like high 120s over high 80s. Blood sugar only got bad for maybe 1 week, and when I say bad, I'm talking like 115 fasted. That was the highest I saw it.
Holy shit!
On 10 units of growth.
Yeah.
So I can tolerate drugs pretty well. So if I was doing my own thing, I probably would have got pretty aggressive with it. But that's where a coach comes in to kind of pull the reins in. And Joe's like, all right, you're doing a gram of test, 600 EQ, and we're going to add in 350 MPP like 8 weeks in or so. And that's all I needed. That worked for me. So I'm not afraid to push the drugs high. Don't get me wrong, but I just didn't need it. It didn't work out that way.
Yeah. And I want to clarify too. I'm not scared to push drugs either.
I don't think any of us are.
And it's a no, we're not. I think honestly we do have the same thought process to just try to get the most out of the least. So like when I argue with people, or like sometimes like I'll talk to clients, I'll talk to other people too, and they're on these bolus doses of stuff. It's kind of like I want to try to say like let's pull back, or maybe you might get more out of less, just from an inflammatory response too. I mean, if you're super inflamed, you can't train well. If you can't train well, you're not growing. Yeah, I know they say, well, but this X person put on this amount of muscle, never training when they're on stocking. That's not a trained individual.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I hate that fucking study.
Anyone should take 1,000. Anyone who believes that should take 1,000 milligram test, do fucking nothing all day.
Yeah,
eat whatever the fuck they want, and watch themselves get fat.
I did it. I do. When I got on TRT in my first semester and only semester of college, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm on 200 milligrams every other week. I can eat whatever I want now. I got fat as fuck. Got like 25% body fat.
Just to circle back to your point about, pulling doses back and actually reducing inflammation and stuff, like the proof is in the pudding. Like I think most of us, we've probably all been through it, where the first 2-3 weeks, like going into a cruise, like you look your best, you feel your best, gym performance skyrockets, just everything coming down, and it's just so much less stress on your body. It's arguably one of the most
very productive. It's probably more productive.
Yeah,
push.
Yeah, like I don't want to say it's more productive than the start of a rebound or something, it's got to be up there. You just feel, most of the time you just feel great. So the proof's in the pudding.
It's kind of like when you start a contest prep, right? And you start to pull food down a little bit, because carbs are inflammatory themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But
100%.
And let's be realistic. When you first start a contest prep, and you were just in a clean out phase, recon, we don't take health phases because we're all healthy year round.
Yep.
But when you're in those first couple of weeks, you're making some sustained progress, and the drugs aren't really, they're in them. They're kind of working, but they're not peaked yet. But progress is really going up. It's the same type of thought process almost, or it's the same mechanisms. Just inflammation going down, gym progress going up. But sleep is better. Appetite's probably way better. You just feel better. And I think that's where it comes from, that stress-free mindset of just like, you just feel better. If you feel better, you're going to grow better.
Yeah, when you're in prep, you definitely restore a level of fitness or athleticism, which I think is kind of overlooked as being important in bodybuilding. Like at the end of the day, we're still athletes, and it's like when you're in the depths of an off season, you are not fit at all, and that's when you can really start spinning your wheels. And once you kind of get that fitness back in prep, you can really make some substantial progress. Which I experienced myself. Like I definitely put on some good muscle tissue in my prep. So I'm a whole different conversation. But a lot of people think when prep comes around, you're in a fat loss phase, but you should always be training with the intention of building muscle, because that's a great time to do that, even though food is being brought down.
In prep, you're in an improvement phase, not necessarily a fat loss phase. Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, especially the first couple of weeks, where you like Bobby's talking about, you have all this energy, you have some body fat to use as fuel too on the way down. Magic things can happen. You really can. And, I mean, Chris had a prep where stayed literally the same fucking weight and grew into the show like Kevin Lerone. Anything can happen. Like, for example, my upcoming prep here, the last check-in specifically, I had that peak weight of like 258, but I think I weighed in, like, again, big fluctuations, 255 a couple days later in check-ins. Then I was 255 again the following week, and after that, and no changes after those first 2 weeks. I've just been plummeting weight. I lost 5 pounds. I went down from 255 to 250, and then I went from 250 to 242 yesterday. And I had a cheat meal yesterday. I had 12 ounces of a steak, a potato, a sweet potato, and some rice at Outback, plus all my regular food minus one meal, just to substitute for the Outback meal. And I lost fucking 3 pounds. So I need to put on some size at the start of this prep, because weight is falling off of me right now. And Joe actually bumped up my rest day food as a response to that. I'm going to keep an eye on my weight. Like, if I keep dropping weight, I'm going to text him like, hey, we might need to throw some fucking food back in here, because I'm going to... Yeah.
And this is why scale doesn't matter.
Yes, but here's the thing. What I was about to say, though, why I'm not super concerned about it is my entire look is changing positively.
There you go.
I'm a bit deflated. I'm a bit deflated, however, all my lines are coming back. All my details coming back. So, and it's 3 weeks since I started the cruise? I'm still on fucking cycle for the most part. I was on EQ test. The MPP's probably gone. But muscle's not falling off. Weight, like fat and water, is falling off right now. So, the only thing that does concern me about it is, though, I might be ready too quick for the show, because it's a 20-week prep. If I don't see myself having to weigh too much less than, like, I think 215 would be like fucking emaciated for me at this point. And I'm 240. That would be a really slow prep for me compared to the other preps I've had.
Based on my experience working with Joe, he has a good eye for it. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, for sure.
if you're worried about being ready too early, I wouldn't worry about that at all.
No.
If you're ahead of the schedule, he's gonna feed you up and hold you where you are. And like during my prep, there were several times where it's like, okay, here's 3 or 4 days, eat a stupid amount of food, because looking back, like I'm not really a client that asks like, oh, why are we doing this? Like, I'll just follow the plan. But looking back, it's because I was on track or I had a schedule. So it's like, all right, let's kind of take our foot off the gas here. I wouldn't worry about that at all.
It's more of like I'm interested to see what happens. And another point too, when it comes to pushing things, and like Bobby was talking about earlier with growth hormone, I think that's another reason too that I'm going to push that shit higher than I've ever pushed it. I'm going to do at least 12 for sure.
Nice.
At least 12. So I'm interested to see what happens, because what I'm thinking, just kind of playing things in my head here, I'm losing so much body fat and water right now in this cruise. Unless, of course, we could fucking bump up food 3 days from now, my weight stays the same. But if things keep going the way they're going, I'm going to have a fuck ton of fat off me before we even really get started in prep. So I can see it being one of those preps where, okay, your weight just kind of gets to a point where it stays the same and you just keep improving and improving and improving. And that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's where you're just growing in the prep, which I think if a prep is managed correctly, fatigue is managed correctly. And let me caveat this before the fucking kids want to come and scream about the fatigue. This only matters when you're at a certain point.
Yeah.
Don't worry about level 5 when you're at level 1. Don't go to the fucking depths of hell, learn what fucking real fatigue is, and fucking love it.
Yeah.
But when it's properly managed, when you have a good significant amount of muscle, you can still grow
for sure
in that prep. Not just those 4 weeks, but you could grow basically almost the entire time.
Yeah.
So if you're ready early, like Brad said, he'll just feed you up.
Yeah.
You might even catch a small little rebound halfway in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's just really exciting. Is all.
Yeah, especially with how high your food already is. Like that leaves like a lot to play with. You know, you're going to be able to grow into this show.
I've lost fucking
you're set up really well.
I've lost fucking 15, 20 pounds on 6,000 calories, 6,000 steps, and no machine cardio, no fat burners. What the fuck?
Yeah,
it's wild.
That's a good spot to be in.
Yeah.
So here's kind of a good example. When I did the mock prep with Chris, we did 2 mock peaks. And the first one, I weighed a hell of a lot less, and then we just kept feeding up into the next one. And weight was probably, 2 or 3 pounds high. Maybe I think about 2 pounds higher.
Yeah.
But I'm so much fucking tighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those examples. Like, you just feed up, you look fresher, you feel fresher.
Muscles bursting against the skin versus
easier.
flat. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm ready to get light enough to where like my posing is just fluid compared to now.
And this is also what I want to say for the average person. They're not going to have a crazy metabolism like you do.
No.
The average person, that's where I worry about the scale chasing.
Oh yeah.
Is because they'll scale chase and then they're going to generally get so fat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even if it's bodybuilding standards fat, that it's going to be just make it hard as fuck to prep. Like, what's going on with you, Joey, doesn't go on with people. You know what I mean? It's not, weight doesn't just fly out. Sometimes it just fucking stick and hold there. And then it's like, well, fuck, you know, I got 20 weeks to prep, but I'm, you know, what is it? A diet? A diet and a prep away from being actually being stage ready.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've never had, I don't think in either one of my preps, I ever had a single week where the scale did not go down at least a pound. Like, I've never had my weight stall like that.
Yeah.
I've seen my weight go up and get leaner.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a good thing.
But we all know I don't weigh. I don't weigh for
you got fucking
weigh like as much as a fucking feather.
Yeah, you got fucking bird runs, brother. I swear I did not. The first time looking at you, I did not think you were in like the 212s, 215s. I was like, that guy's like 230 for sure.
I'm 215.8 today.
Yeah, fucking.
This is after a free meal. So.
Oh, you dropped.
yeah. I always drop after a free meal. Actually, I dropped a fucking 1.2 pounds.
Yeah.
1.2, 1.4 pounds. I mean, I generally drop after free meals just because, I mean, the way I structure them, honestly, I don't think it's wise to eat after a free meal. And Chris is actually the one who really put me on this. Is like,
so
your blood sugar is going to be so fucked from a free meal that you're not going to be absorbing that next meal. Yeah. You know what I mean?
For 99% of people, I would agree. However, I almost did this last night. I had that steak, potato, rice, a good, I mean, it was probably 1,500 calories, if I had to guess. I was going to not do my sixth meal. It's just whey and peanut butter. I was like, I don't need to fucking eat this. But then I thought to myself, okay, dumbass, you just lost 8 pounds in a week. Let's err on the fucking, and you got 2 back-to-back rest days. Let's err on the side of overeating versus undereating. So not that applies to everybody, but just, just that is important that I mentioned that. Because I did
very person dependent.
Yes.
Very person dependent situation.
Yeah.
You and Joe and your fucking blood sugar dropped.
I checked it this morning and it was fucking 82. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, things are moving and grooving. I'm super excited for prep. Super excited to see Bobby's prep because you're prepping this year, aren't you?
I am.
Okay.
In June we start prep.
Yep, and then Brad is as well. I've seen that. What is this year like?
I was just gonna say, I think Bobby and I will be prepping pretty much the exact same timeline. I think mine's gonna be started maybe. I think mine might not be starting till July. The show's in November, so probably around July. But yeah,
that's a nice timeline.
Mine's in December. But
what does this year look like for you, competition-wise, Chris? Anything in the books?
Not for this year. So like the only time it would have made sense for me to like really be able to have an off season and grow. Yeah, I have to compete in the fall, and my fiance and I are getting married in October, so
Congratulations.
I'm just gonna. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just gonna focus. I'm gonna start my off season here soon, and then I plan on competing hopefully at the Arnold Amateur next year.
Nice.
So
That's a good show to do.
yeah, I think the first national level show, and to show it peeled, and if anything, I'm not expecting to win or anything like that, but get some eyes on me and get some, come in with good condition and hopefully help with coaching and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And it'd be fun too. You go to the expo after, you just make it a whole event.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that show like automatically gets you eyes on you just because it's affiliated with the Arnold, right? It's definitely not the most competitive national show, but I think you definitely get a good amount of eyes on you just because of what it is, right?
Yeah. That's the goal, man. I'm freaking pumped.
Nice. And that's the most important thing, is to be excited for the show you're doing. Don't pick some random show that you don't give a fuck just because it happens to fall on this date, right? Like, pick a show that the promoters are good, it's going to have good production value, good photographer taking pictures. Because I've done one show, where my most recent show, where there was really, really good production value, everything was ran great, the promoter cared. And then the very first show I did, which is unfortunate because it was my first exposure, fucking terrible experience. They just herded you around like animals, didn't hardly look you in the fucking eye when they talked to you. It was just terrible. So that is something people should definitely think about when picking a show for the year.
Yeah.
And with the Arnold Amateur, what do you have to do to qualify? You just win, like same as any other national show, like you just win a show, or?
I don't even think you need to qualify, to be honest.
That's what I thought. I think you can literally just compete in it, which that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. If not, worst case, if I do have to qualify, I obviously wouldn't end up being able to do it that year. But I am qualified for the Vancouver Pro, and I'm in Washington State, so that's really close.
Yeah.
When I won the overall, I get like free entry for that show for the next 2 years. So I haven't cashed that in yet. So hopefully I can. Worst case, I will end up doing that. I think that'd be July though, 27. So.
All right. Well, we're at about an hour and a half here. I think this is a good point to stop it at. I appreciate all of your time. This is a great podcast. Definitely we'll have to look to have you back on soon here, Chris. It was great talking to you. Great getting to know you. Fun conversation.
Thanks for having me, man. It was a blast.
Anything anybody wants to end on before we close out here? Any sponsors, shout out, affiliates?
If you guys made it all the way to the end, I want you to say, don't be scared, be prepared in the comments.
Nice. Good idea on that one. And I got to get in the habit of saying this more too. If you are liking the content on the channel, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Especially subscribe. I think I'm like 4 away from 200, which for bodybuilding channel metrics is not too shabby. I think I started 8 months ago to 0 now to 200. That's the way I see it. Is if you have 200 people in a room, that's a pretty big fucking deal.
Yeah.
And don't forget, ring the bell.
Ring the bell. We don't have the bell yet. Or no, we had the bell. We had the bell. We just don't have the hype button. That's what we don't have.
We need to get the hype button.
We got to get the hype button. That's the goal for the end of 2026 is to, I think it's like 1,000 subscribers or something. So that's probably ludicrous, but nothing's impossible. All right. I'm going to keep yammering on here. So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Everybody's social medias will be under their faces as usual. Links in the description. Thank you guys for watching.